Hi everyone, welcome to the channel, or welcome back if you're a returning watcher. I'm George, I'm the Good Lad Gamer, and today we're going to be pulling Ancient Shards for the Champion Chase tournament for the Wight or Right Queen Ankora fusion or fragment summons. As you can see, the portal is blue, so we've got a ×2 chances on Ancient Shards. I've got about 90 on this account, on my Kale account, and on my other account I've got about 100. So in total we're going to be pulling about 200 Ancient Shards, and I'm really excited. If we can get some legendaries out of it and have a guaranteed legendary at the end of the fragment summons, I'm a happy bunny. So let's get into it. And before we get into pulling these shards, guys, if you enjoy my content and want to see more of it, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Subscribing makes a huge amount of difference to me. I've currently got about 200 subscribers, and I would love for my next target and my next big milestone to be 220 subscribers. So if you enjoy the content and want to see more of it, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get into pulling these shards. So here we are, guys, we're on the Kale account. I've got, I think, about 60 fragments for Right Queen Ankora. Yes, 60 fragments on both of my accounts. Hopefully after today with the Champion Chase, I think the Champion Chase gives another 20 potentially. Let's go in and have a look. So we've got another 15, so that's going to bring me up to 75 fragments. And then with the Lovers event and the Dragon tournament that's on at the moment, I should be really close to getting it. And I'm about the same level on both of my two accounts. So I've got to get pulling these shards. I really want to see some other legendaries in the mix. And with a ×2 Ancients and the amount of Ancients that I've got, hopefully we're going to see something good. So let's get into it. 10 pull number 1. I am going to have to make some room in between. I haven't got enough room for my champions for all of these shards, but that will take minutes for you guys, seconds for you guys, but it's going to take about 20 minutes for me just to go through all the different champions. No one significant on the first 10 pull, all Ancients, which is sad to see. We've got loads of points on this 10 pull, so hopefully we're going to see something good. Nope, just epic. So we've got Dark Aethel, Sashi, Sinesha, and Lorne the Cutter. None of these guys on the top row, very significant. And to be honest, none of these epics, very significant. So moving on to the next 10 pull. I guess Sinesha could be significant if used in a blended team with Skull Crown or someone like that. But I'm not that interested. I've got her on both of my accounts, so I'm not that interested. We've got an Aethel and an Elhain. I mean, no one else of significance there, and these two are only significant if they're your starter champion, so no one interested in there. On to the next 10 pull. Come on. A legendary. That's what we want to see. Another epic. I hope to see a legendary. And Endalia and Sashi. Second Sashi on this one. On to the next 10 pull, but I need to make some room. Give me a second, guys, and I will be right back. And we're back. We've got a little bit of room. I think I'm probably just going to have to just sort of axe a couple of those rares after I've done a couple of pulls out of these. I'm not doing the math off the top of my head right now, but let's get into the next lot of 10 pulls. Hopefully we see a legendary. 580 points. It's not looking great. It's not looking good at all. We've got a Gorgrab and a Scion. Everyone else is a rare there, not interested in epics, as always. As always, guys, as well, I will go through any legendaries kit that I pull, just so so you guys are familiar with the legendary, and sometimes so I'm familiar with the legendary. We got a Gal Cut on that one. No one else of interest at all, to be honest. I am also still looking out for the epics needed for the Lady Mikage fusion. I've got... On my Galek account, I think it is, I've got 3 of the 4 champions needed to fuse Lady Mikage. But on my other account, whichever one it is, I'm really struggling for those champions. So I need to keep an eye out for them, make sure I don't feed them. We've got a Yellow Grinner, and a Maeve. Moving on, though, I don't want to see either of those champions. Not interested, never going to build them. They're going to be food. Another 580 points. Armina, it's not looking good for legendaries. Rain Beast, no one else in that one. Quite literally no one else in that one. So what do I need to do? I may need to make a tiny bit of room, and we'll pull this last 11. All right, let's do it. The last 11. Fingers crossed. I forgot to mention there is a 10 times on top of a 10 times chance if it's a legendary of getting one of the new legendaries that have the faction benefits. Deacon Armstrong in this pool, I'll show you in a second. Deacon Armstrong, a legendary in an epic skin, but I do have him. I have multiple copies of him on both of my accounts, and an Ursine Ice Crusher. If you've got Deacon and you haven't built him out, you absolutely need to build him out. He's an amazing champion. And the last ancient on this one, 90, what did I say it was? 93 shards at the start. 93 shards, not one legendary on this account. That is a sad, sad sight to see. And the champion we've got is Aislinn the Stalwart. And he's one of these champions that performs better if you have Bannerlord champions on the same team with him. I won't go into his kit unless we pull him, but they're really interesting champions, really interesting to see, and really interesting for those tournaments that can be challenges for using a single faction or a group of factions that are all in that same sort of sub faction. So yeah, it could be quite interesting champions going forward. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to get these points, make sure that I've got enough points, and if not, I'll have to pull some of my backup champions that I've got old fragment summons, but we've got all the fragments that we need. I'll save the energy for when I need it, and I'll go onto my other account and we're going to do exactly the same over there. So here we are on the Galek account. We're going to do exactly the same thing. I am absolutely going to have to make some room, but we've got room for about 50 shards and then another 50 shards after that. So let's get into it. Hopefully we see at least one legendary from this video, from nearly 200 ancient shards with ×2 chances of getting a legendary. I want to say that we'll see at least one. So we've got Romero, Crimson Helm, Ugo, and Siege Hulk. No rares of significance, and to be honest, I suppose there's a use case for Crimson Helm. A lot of people used to use Crimson Helm for solo content quite early on in the game, and Ugo is obviously a decreased defense epic, one of the decreased defense epics, and is actually a really good champion. So 2, maybe 3 with Siege Hulk, significant champions in there. If you've got them in your roster, then I would definitely have a look at seeing if they're useful in some of your teams. On to the next temple. A legendary, please. 1,550 points on this one. And we got the legendary. There it is. Now that is a legendary on the wish list. That is definitely one that I've been after for a while. And we're on the Galek account, which doesn't have a C-fee. My Kale account has a C-fee, so I've missed out there, but I do officially, out of both of my accounts, have a Rotos, which is incredible for me. So what we'll do, we'll go into his kit, and I'll tell you exactly why he's a really good champion. So on his A1, attacks one enemy, has a 75 chance of placing a decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, also has a 25% chance of granting an extra turn. On his A2, attacks one enemy, destroys the target's max HP by 20%, then adds the HP to this champion's own max HP. Cannot destroy a single champion's max HP by more than 60% in one battle. Cannot increase this champion's max HP by more than 60,000. Destroys the max HP of the bosses by 30% of the damage inflicted instead. This champion's max HP will be increased by 15,000 when this skill is used against bosses. And then on his A3, attacks one enemy, will ignore 60% of the target's defense, will also ignore unkillable and block damage buffs. When ascended, it's the same. Enemies killed by this skill cannot be revived if this champion has gained max amount of HP from his A2, where he destroys max HP, grants an extra turn if this skill kills an enemy. And then on his passive, will decrease damage from the enemy hits so that incoming damage from any single target will not exceed 50% of this champion's max HP. Grants an extra turn if this damage reduction occurs. Does not work against bosses. And if C-fee is on the same team, decreases the damage taken by bosses by 15%. Nope, that's wrong. As standard, without Sifi on the team, he decreases damage taken from bosses by 15%, and if Sifi's on the team, it's 30%, which is a crazy damage reduction. So what Rotos is known for is his extra turns on his A1. He absolutely smacks because he ignores defense and unkillable and everything like that. So he smacks with his A1, smacks with his A1, smacks with his A1, all with extra turns granted from his A1, and then he'll go into this skill and start decreasing the max HP and this skill, which then means that the champion can't be revived. He's an absolute nuke. He was the go-to nuker when I started playing the game. Everyone had a Rotos in their arena team, and I think they still do to an extent, but there's other champions that do just as much damage that do it as an AoE. So I think he has been a little bit outplayed, but he definitely has a use case in arena and live arena for sure. So I am chuffed with having a Rotos. I finally got one. I've got Sifi on one account and Rotos on the other account, which is it's not great. I would love to have him on the same team, but, you know, this is the luck of the draw. So, a Rotos, I'm really happy with that. And I've finally got the legendary that I've been begging for. The other pulls on this one, insignificant compared to Rotos. But we have a Vrask, a Joro, Jin, and Jotun, and Relic Keeper. So, on to the next 10 pull. Let's see if we get another legendary. 200. Out of 200, I feel like I should at least be owed 2 legendaries out of these pulls, but they're on 2 different accounts, so I guess it doesn't quite count. So we've got a Cornelia, a really good champion, really good if you're struggling in faction wars for the dwarves, and some people have built her for solo content, but I don't have the gear that supports her needed for solo content. No one else of significance in there. On to the next one. It would be really nice to see another legendary. If we got more than one, and then also on top of that, the guaranteed legendary of Queen Ankor, right Queen Ankor, that would be really cool. Ankora, I think. So we've got Lorne the Cutter and Chonoru. No one else of significance. I wouldn't even say they're that significant for epics. We've seen some better ones like Deacon in these pulls. So on to the next 10 pull. 100 points, that's all rares. That is sad to see. I'm going to do a quick one. And then I need to make a little bit of room for the last 59. That was only my first lot of 10 pulls. So I need to make a little bit of room. I need to make quite a lot of room. I'll be right back and we'll pull the rest of these shards. And we're back at it. We've got 59 ancient shards to go. I am going to have to make a little bit of room at the end just for the 9 shards. But let's get into it. Another legendary. Come on. 100 points. That's all rares. It's actually quite refreshing to have at least one legendary in this pool. In my last video I did last weekend, I pulled 14 sacreds and I didn't get any legendaries out of it. So it's quite nice to at least have one out of these. No one of significance in here. Maybe a bit of Metal Shaper if you're really struggling on sort of normal Doom Tower for the Scarab boss, but no one else in there that I can really think has any use in the game that isn't outclassed by an epic or a legendary. So moving on to that one, I've got a Metal Shaper on both accounts. I use it for my casual, now casual normal Doom Tower. We've got a Lady Quillen, which is actually one of the Lady Mikage fusion champions, so definitely keep an eye on her, and Lady Annabelle, who I have used for Bommel, solo in Bommel in hard Doom Tower. Great champion. If you pull her and you're struggling with Bommel, absolutely don't feed her. None of the epics of any interest at all, so moving on to the next one. Come on, another legendary. 580 points. That is not a legendary. Pan the Bowhorn. Not interested in you, Pan. And Brood Lord. Definitely not interested in you. On to the next one. One more legendary. 820 points. It's definitely not a legendary with 2 epics already. So we got Taragi the Frog, which is a really good champion. He's got he poisons. He's really good for clan boss. He poisons and he's got a ally protection skill, so he's really good for clan boss, especially if you're struggling early clan boss. He can protect your team and do damage to the clan boss. Kaitis and Canoness, not champions that I'm interested in, so moving on. And there it is. No, it's not. That's 2 epics, I reckon, in this one. Hope, again, not interested in you, Hope. And Ripper, not interested in any of those champions whatsoever. And we're on to the last 9. Let me make a little bit of room and I'll be right back. And we're back with the 9, and hopefully we can get a legendary out of a single pull. It very rarely happens. It normally happens to me when I'm desperate for a rare to make food or to create food for the next sort of champion training or something like that. And I'll pull a single ancient shards and a legendary just pops out, and it ruins my mercy for these videos. So we've got a Grinner, not interested, a rare, moving on. We've got another rare. Who are you? Marauder. Not interested in you, Marauder. You can maraud over there and get away from me. An epic. Pestilius. Now, I mistook Pestilius in my last video for a Mordecai. So for those that are obsessed with Mordecai and absolutely love him as a champion, I apologise for getting them mixed up. Pestilius, not as good as Mordecai. Does have a HP burn, but not as good as Mordecai. And we've got a Taurus, a really good champion if you've got a poison exploder, because I think he puts 4 poisons on the enemy team across the board, but sacrifices HP to do it. So you can use him, get the poisons out, and then use a poison exploder, a speed tune right to nuke the enemies. Margrave, Greenhawk, not interested, moving on. I think Margrave might have been a past fusion rare, I think. But not significant anymore. And then we got a Magnar, an epic. I've got a Magnar on both my accounts. Magnar's actually one of the harder hitting HP based champions. So if you've got one and he's just sort of sitting in your vault and you're struggling in an arena or something like that, maybe have a look at Magnar and see what he can do. A Gator, not interested in Gator. Moving on to the last 2. One more legendary. Life Taker. No. And it's another rare. Right, let's go and see. Just make sure I got all the points that I need. Points. More than on my other account. That's because we got a legendary and it's a champion chase tournament. Pull all of these. Keep the energy. And that's it from me, guys. So we got a Rotos. Or Rotus. We got a Rotus. The only legendary we got out of nearly 200 ancient shards, and I'm sure I've probably completely messed up my mercy on my Kale account, and next time I pull an individual ancient, I'm going to get a legendary out of it, but it's not going to be on camera, and I'm going to be really upset about it. But please do let me know how you got on in this ×2 event. Please let me know if you pulled any account changing champions or any legendaries, and hopefully it can progress your account a little bit more, and we can all start playing the game a bit more and enjoying it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.